Welcome everyone. My name's Mark Fernandez. I'm a student of Tara Institute. Is this the first time for anyone on Monday nights? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, great. Anyway, welcome. So this is the third week of a series of talks on Introduction to Buddhism. So each of them are self-contained. So hopefully, out of each week, you get something that you can use in your lives. So the first thing we do is establish a good motivation. So if you come to any other night at Tara Institute, you'll see that's pretty much the rhythm. You do this, generating the motivation at the beginning, which establishes it within you, and very good motivation, the best that you can generate. Then for the next period, we'll do a little bit of meditation. There'll be a little bit of talking, hopefully a few questions back and forward, and then we'll do a little bit more meditation, a bit more talking, and then we'll sort of finish with the back book end, which is called dedication. So we're sort of accumulating this virtue through the hour. So we actually, by this dedication, we direct it to a positive end. So it protects it, allows it to multiply, and brings good benefits to you in this lifetime, tomorrow. Like it's sort of like a self-fulfilling wish. It's sort of like there's merits there. It's within my continuum. It's created a lot of virtue, and that directs you as you go through life. So let's start. So I'll just for the beginning, I'll read the refuge in generating bodhicitta prayer. I'll just read it once. We usually read it 3 times, but I'll just read it once. So, I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest assembly. From the virtuous merit that I collect by practicing giving and other perfections, may I attain the state of a Buddha to be able to benefit all sentient beings. So that's the motivation. So it's good to take that to heart, even if you're not Buddhist. So it just means you're directing yourself to something other than your own, perhaps self-centered happiness. You're actually looking beyond that a little bit, so which is very good. And at the end, when we do the dedication, I've noticed there this was actually the version I was using was quite old on the dedication, but it was talking about by the virtuous merits. I'm dedicating the virtue for the dedicating my merits. Excuse me, so I'm just going to find it. Okay, so it says, may I quickly become Guru Lord Buddha and lead each and every sentient being into his enlightened realm because of these merits, and then it goes on. So when it says each and every sentient being into his enlightened realm, that his is actually there. So it's not referring to men achieving enlightenment to the exclusion of women, or vice versa. So it's any form, so male and female, it's all equal. So both beings can and do achieve state of full enlightenment. So if it looks like a misprint of sorts, so apologies for that. But anyway, so with that, so through the hour, you're listening. So there's a few wisdom tools that you're utilising yourself. The first one, listening. The second one is reflecting or contemplating, and the third one is meditation. So you need all three. And those wisdom tools are there because when you utilise those in that order, your own inner or innate wisdom comes to the fore. So that's one of the truisms of Buddhism, is that we don't posit that the ultimate state of a human being is affliction. that's all we are, is just a mass of problems. And, well, don't laugh, because some people do posit that, well, if you look at a human being, all they are is a mass of problems. That you solve one and another one arises. So in Buddhism, they use the analogy of the sky and the clouds. So the sky being the ultimate nature, the Buddha nature of every human being, or every sentient being actually, but the clouds being the afflicted minds. So that if the clouds are merely passing, they're called, the terms that we use, adventitious. So they're temporarily there, but they're not at one with the sky. So that's something to examine, really. Is that true or not? So it'll probably take longer than just this one session to do it, but you to actually examine, could that really happen? Could that really be true for me? That I sort through my problems and remove from the afflicted minds, that I'd be left with this sky nature, this Buddha nature. So in Buddhism, we posit that that's the case. But that's for you to examine. But it's quite a very important point. So the other point I'd like to make is, if there is this ultimate state, this completely purified state with all these good qualities, then how do we achieve it? If we have these afflictions at the moment and they're overwhelming, how do we actually get to that purified, clear state? So that's the main method is meditation. So that's the third wisdom tool. So the listening, reflecting, and meditation. So the meditation is the actual tool that we use to clear the mind, or to see the true nature of the mind. So it needs a lot of effort, but it can be done. So that's that's one of the methods that we'll practice tonight, is a breathing meditation, just to give you a glimpse of what your mind can do. So let's start. We'll do a little bit of meditation for a few minutes. So the main thing is, when you're sitting on the floor or on a cushion, is your back straight. And your hands are left hand on the bottom in our tradition, and then the right hand on top like this, and then your thumbs touching and then pointing back towards the navel. So you're pointing at a spot maybe a couple of centimetres below the belly button, but pointing back, and that generates a level of warmth and love within that area. And your arms are sort of out a little bit, so they're not totally tight back into you, out. That allows the flow of air, or the circulation. So your eyes are going to be not fully shut and not wide open, but just slightly open to allow the impression of light in. So you don't want to be distracted or fall asleep, but you just want to have that a little bit of light coming into you. And your mouth's closed and your tongue is on your top palate, because in the breathing meditation we're going to be breathing through our nostrils or through our nose. So just to start, so we'll be breathing in. So as you're breathing in, so you're gently breathing in, it's not forced, so you're breathing in enlightened energy. So this can be in the form of lights, nectars, sounds, feeling, warmth, whatever. So just breathing that enlightened energy in, reducing any tension, worries, giving them some form of happiness. As you're breathing out, those tensions and stresses and anxiety are leaving you. So we'll just do that for a short period. Breathe in and out. And now that you're relaxed a little bit more, so then switch your focus just totally onto the sensation of the mental image of the breath as it goes in and out through your nostrils. So focus on that for a few minutes. And if you find your attention's wandering, just gently bring it back to the sensation of the breath as it goes in and out through your nostrils. So then when you feel ready, just bring your attention back to the room and then open your eyes. So, did anyone have a good meditation, breathing meditation? Anyone have a good experience? Anyone have a bad experience? Anyone have trouble keeping their attention on the breath? Yep. So they say that the cause of the lack of attention is perhaps the mind wanting to go to something a little bit more exciting. So, so that's just something that can distract you. So, but it's not a stream of consciousness, but it's called discursive thoughts. So the discursive thoughts arise, seemingly random, and so one part of your mind is, I'm meditating, I'm on the breath, and then the other part of the mind is slowly being pulled away by these discursive thoughts to something else, and eventually, if you're not aware or mindful, you lose that. Completely your object of meditation because you're consumed by whatever it is that's dragged you away. So on its own, that's fine. You think, oh, well, it's good, it's just a thought and a few thoughts, it's okay. But with these discursive thoughts, unfortunately, out of meditation or even in meditation, they generally lead to some form of afflicted mind, whether it's, desire or anger or jealousy or, hatred, anything, all those things. So that generally out of that comes those afflicted minds, and out of those afflicted minds, if you're consumed by them, you might do some form of action with those as the intention. So if it's out of hatred, you might hit someone or yell at them. So seemingly innocuous discursive thoughts can lead to those afflicted minds. So that's where meditation brings you back and says, oh, okay, now you can focus on the breath. And if you're able to, you'll see that while your focus is on the breath, it's not on the discursive thought. So if you can focus, even for a short period, you won't be focusing on an afflicted mind or a discursive thought. So that's very good, because for that moment you have some level of peace or quietude within you. Does anyone have anything like to ask about that? No? Anyway, so last week a few people raised anxiety or stress, tension, sort of worries, concerns. So the discursive thoughts, if you like, can lead to this heightened level of anxiety and worry. And then generally it's an overestimation of the situation, because our mind can run away with itself, can't it? It's one of the attributes we have. We can think about a situation and go, oh, that's going to be shocking, it'll be terrible, I won't be able to manage it. But we're prone to overestimating it. So, and that can lead to this tension or stress rising in us. So meditation acts as the antidote in this case, because you're focusing just on the breath. The breath on its own, it can, in the philosophy, it can be classified as a neutral object. It's just the breath going in and out. But because we're imbuing it with these positive qualities, we'll say it's a virtuous object. So in and out, it's having a physical effect on you, but also an effect on your mind as well. That your mind is calmer, clearer, and more able to focus. So that they're all very good things to have. So within that meditation for that minute, if you can do that, that's very good. So out of meditation, then, can you do anything about the anxiety? Is there anything you can do about it? If you're anxious about something, or you're a generally anxious person, can you do anything about it, or do you have to be swept along with it? You can do a lot with it. What can you do? Yes. Yes, you can do that. Yep. Yeah. So that's very good. So out of meditation, you can utilise the tools of meditation to, as you put it, slow down the neural pathways, or change the neural pathways, so that your response to the stressful situation is viewed differently. One, but also you can, because you're using the breath, you can lower your anxiety in and out, so that it can have that calming effect. So I had this experience falling asleep. So I thought, oh gosh, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. It's there's too many things to do. So I was feeling very anxious, and I'd woken up with that. I was it wasn't wake up time, mind you. It was sort of early morning. So I thought, oh gosh. Anyway, so I thought, I'll just try this breathing meditation and just see if it does anything, like an experiment. Anyway, I did it, and then I fell asleep. So the anxiety or the worry wasn't keeping me from falling asleep. It stopped that effect that it would normally have. It ceased, so I was able to just go back to sleep. So And that only happened last night. So I thought, oh, well, this is a good, I'm teaching Monday nights, let's see if this works while you're sleeping. So, it did. So I think, anyway, that's good. So to me, it's okay, well, that still works there. And what happens in the sleep is when you're falling asleep, your mind's getting more and more subtle. So and the Geshe Doga talks about this, if you can be aware of this, then you can actually tune into this, like a meditation, but your innate wisdom, which is really good. So it's not just I'm sitting in meditation, but it's as you're relaxing, falling asleep, that you can actually cultivate that type of mind. So it shows that wisdom, it's there, and we just have to unlock it and develop it. So what about if we're not sleeping and we're not meditating, but we're in a situation that's anxiety-inducing? What can we do there? Can we do anything? Or are we captive with the anxiety? Is the anxiety just going to, drag us along? Can we do anything with that? And what would you say we do?
Anxiety is generated by fear.
Yep.
Basically, that part of your brain that's kept human beings alive since prehistoric times become very, very efficient, too efficient. So it's a matter of finding out what that fear is, writing it out, getting out of your system, and then meditating after that, which is what reprograms and destroying whatever you've written, and then
Okay.
using meditation to shut that part of your brain back in.
Okay. So you're talking about, you're reprogramming your response afterwards. Whilst it's happening. Okay, great. That's even better. So, okay. So that's very good. Keep that in mind, because this is some advice from His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So he said.
So when that part of your brain stimulated, it's a fear that's usually caused it. So you write that fear out. What is it's causing you to feel that way? Once that's happening, destroy what you've written, which is significant of letting go of fear, and then you meditate again to shut that part of your brain back down.
So you contemplate, right? Is that what you're saying?
You get it out of your system, you destroy it, which signifies letting go of that fear, and then you meditate to just close that part of your brain back down.
And I'll just in keeping His Holiness, this is what he said in relation to worry, which we can just say it's anxiety. Okay, so if you can do something about the situation, why worry? And if you can't do something about the situation, why worry? So he's captured it. He's captured it in essence. Well, and this is what I alluded to before. We tend to overestimate the object of anxiety or the situation. Like it's bigger than we posit it to be bigger than it is, and then it becomes worse for us because we just get more and more overwrought and consumed and overwhelmed. So anyway, so I use His Holiness's advice. If I can do something about it, why worry? And if I can't do anything about it, why worry? Because he's virtually saying, well, if you can do anything about the situation, do that. But don't worry about it. Just do what you can. So that's good advice. So, because he's not putting the focus on the worrying, he's putting the focus on the action that you can do. And if you ever come into a situation where you can't do anything about the situation, what his point is, well, why are you worrying about it? Because you can't change that situation. Now, I'm not sure whether many of us are ever in that second scenario where we can't do absolutely anything about that as a situation, but it does happen. So I'll give you an example from my early career. So I got retrenched. So I knew about it like maybe it was about 8 weeks out, your job's finished, so I'm out. So it was like, all right, so then this sort of the anxiety starts to build up. But I couldn't do anything about that situation that was going to happen. But I could do something about my response to it. So I'd go for a walk every day. I'd leave the workplace and go for a walk for about half an hour. It was during work time, so it wasn't lunchtime. It was just I'm off, so I just said I'll go to the park and walk around and then just think, breathe, whatever, and then come back. But I found that helped my state of mind. I didn't drop into the doldrums. So it was sort of like, and then when the final day came, obviously it was like, okay, I'm leaving, but it wasn't the overwhelming situation that at the beginning I thought it would be. So
funny you should say that. Spent 10 days in Kathmandu in a monastery, and the day I got back, went to work. I was made redundant, and I guess if I hadn't been to the monastery, I probably would have fallen into a trap. But I was actually happy. It was opening new opportunities. So
yeah. Yeah, it's very important. So that's a very good point. The mind that approaches the problem determines generally whether your level of happiness. So, and this is from Geshe Doga. He was talking about if anyone has a level of happiness, then don't lose it. Don't lose. He was virtually saying just hold on to it. Grip it. Don't let go of it, because when you go down, you can't snap your finger and go back up. Generally, you'll be down, and it'll be like a black hole looking up. You'll be just going, oh, I can't see where I was. So that's a terrible situation to be in. So he's very, Geshe Doga is very adamant. He says, if you have any level of happiness, any semblance, you hold on to it. So that's for anxiety or worry. And then another approach that I've looked at is a problem shared is a problem halved, or is that the saying? Yeah. So that's a good one, because I've noticed that within myself. It's like a bubble or something. It's a big problem. But then if I verbalise it to someone, and it could be just someone who didn't want to hear it, but it's sort of like they just happen to be in the vicinity, and off I go. Whoop. But then immediately it lifts, or it's the problem doesn't seem to be as big. Doesn't. So has anyone else found that? Yeah. And so this points to the social nature of human beings. So we're not an island, and we can, we actually need each other. So that's very good. So that's with anxiety or stress. So, and you had a question? Oh yeah. Can you give me an example, please?
So, for example, I was really worried about having to find a new job at Market. And so one friend who I was saying, you think, or whatever, and they said something else, I was some stories, and I go to another friend who's the same problem, and they just tell us something that hurts. Instead of alleviating the issue in my mind, it causes it to be
That's good. Yeah, no, it makes sense, doesn't it? So that's like a pylon, isn't it? So you're going, well.
It's like an unhealthy position.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So going to one friend and going to another friend and going to another friend, that's, if you like, that's a real life example of discursive thoughts at work. So you had one problem that you shared with a friend, and then there was an interaction, wasn't resolved, and then the next, you went to the next friend, and then, so you've got these sort of continuity of thoughts or occurrences happening, and eventually the problem hasn't halved, has it? It's probably magnified, huh? Because you're even more worried. You think, well, I've talked to 10 friends and they've all given me 10 different solutions, and I don't know which one. So I'm back, I'm even worse than I was at the big. So yeah, so that's a good example of, anyway, discursive thoughts. Yeah. So last week we spoke about some of the benefits of meditation. So it definitely lowers your stress level when you meditate. So and your heart rate gets lowered, and you physically probably feel more relaxed and good. So they're all, if you like, physical outcomes, and then the mental outcomes are probably the ones we're trying to cultivate at the same time. Is really that your mind's calmer, hopefully clearer, more focused, and more able to generate a state of happiness as a result. So is there a correlation between a peaceful mind and a happy mind? Yep. You agree with that? So this is when Geshe Doga teaches about he was teaching about meditation on a Wednesday night a few years ago. He was talking about a peaceful mind being a happy mind. If you like, the definition of the happy mind is the peaceful mind. So, and that's developed through a meditation practice, which is developed through listening and contemplating, and then finally meditating. So for someone like Geshe Doga, then it's like, oh well, he's happy all the time. So he's peaceful. That means he's saying he's peaceful all the time. And when he teaches, you can sort of see it in his demeanour. He's happy. He's beaming and radiating a lot of positive energy to everyone. So, and he's said, well, he said he hasn't achieved the state of mind or happiness that he has through a fluke, like just perchance it occurred that he was going to be happy. He's actually, through his many years of study and meditation, that's the end result of that is he has a peaceful mind, a happy mind. So that's good news for us, because it means that we can have a lifelong journey towards happiness. So we don't really need to feel, well, that's Geshe Doga there up on the throne. There's no way I could achieve his level of happiness. Or Geshe Doga is saying the opposite. He's saying if you put the effort in, you can achieve happiness yourselves. So that's very good to know. So again, this points to the earlier point around your Buddha nature. Is it could I really become the Buddha and be like the sky, just have no afflicted minds or emotions, just be completely pure and happy and clear. So does anyone here work in customer service? Couple? And where do most people work here then? Are they in the caring professions? Anyone who work in the caring professions? Can you put your hand up? Okay, there's quite a few there. Sales? Anyone in sales? Yeah, very good. Management? Homebodies? No? Okay. Alright, so you're all from different areas. So when we come out of meditation, so if we're feeling, oh, there's some goods come out of that, because we've generated a good motivation to benefit all these sentient beings, so it's not just for our own happiness, then we can utilise this newfound or well-developed sense of peace or happiness to benefit other beings. So it's whatever your profession is or your vocation, occupation, you can utilise that. So with me, I have two jobs. One's in a medical clinic as a business manager, and the other one's in a jewellery shop as a proprietor. So with the latter, with the jewellery shop, every customer that comes in, I say hello, hi, hello, how are you, etc. So a greeting, and with a smile. And with the business manager role, it's not necessarily, well, I'd still be saying hello to everyone, but it's more observing the nature of the people around me who are the professionals. The nurse, the doctor, the receptionist. They've got set roles in that clinic. So, and trying to observe and also take in what they're doing. So they're actually practicing love and compassion at that point towards the patient. And for them, it's very natural, spontaneous. Hello, how are you? And oh, you're here to see Dr. So-and-so, Dr. Smith. Have a seat. Get you. And Dr. Smith comes out, sees the patient, sends them to the nurse. The nurse says, "Oh, hello, how are you? What are we doing?" Okay, So there's it's not rehearsed, but it seems very spontaneous. But you can see the love and compassion there within that clinic. So that's very good, I think. So that's if you like, that generating love and compassion within you, but then it radiating out towards others. So that's very important. So in the jewellery shop, there's it's more around making the person feel good about what they're looking at and what they're wanting to buy, and making it a happy experience. So it's not sewing a wound or saving a life. So, but it's fulfilling that service function, and hopefully in a nice way. So that can be. So that approach, and I've just used those examples, can be, if you like, dropped into every vocation. So you'll all be dealing with other people. So you'll all have the opportunity to be kind and compassionate to other people. So even the auditor doesn't like working with people, but loves the numbers. So even them, eventually with their books, they have to go and talk to the customer, don't they? They can't just press the button and go, here's. They actually have to sit down. So there's some interaction there. So it's important, whatever your profession, to actually make that interaction as good as you can. So it's for the benefit of that person that you're helping. So if you approach your work life with that approach, is it going to be harder? Is it hard to sustain, or is it going to be impossible to do, or is it? So, no? Easier? No. So you can do it, so that so you can sustain that positive motivation throughout the day. So when we do this refuge and bodhicitta prayer, I like to do it in the morning, first thing, and then that's it. That's my motivation for the day. So I don't really revisit it unless I'm coming to the teachings or something like that. But then I try and, that's the impetus or that's going to carry me through the day. So then what I'm measuring or looking at are my actions. Have I been kind and considerate or skillful, or am I being angry or resentful or hurtful to another person. So with the wisdom tool of reflection, and this fellow mentioned it before, just reflecting as it's happening and then afterwards meditating on it to try and reprogram. So you can do that as the interaction's occurring, but meditation gives you that time and space. So last week I spoke about there's like a microsecond or 1 second, 2 seconds between your stimulus, the stimulus of the other person, and your response. So with meditation, it becomes a little bit longer. So it's not quite in slow motion, but it feels like you're not so consumed by your afflicted mind that you have to immediately respond with a cutting remark. So you've got that little bit of space there to go, oh, and then go, no. And you either zip up or say something more appropriate or not say anything at all. So that's one of the advantages of meditation. And I think that's one of the things that Geshe Doga is talking about, is a peaceful mind, a happy mind. So you're protecting that peaceful mind by not letting the afflicted mind overtake you and consume you. So with one of the afflicted minds, the mind of anger, so I'm jumping around here, one of them down the street in your car and someone cuts you off, do you just whistle a happy tune? Is that the first response? Or smile or no. So generally the first response is, oh, that so and so, and you immediately, the thoughts are there anyway that are quite hostile towards the person who cuts you off. So that's pretty raw and if you like, a raw experience where you haven't had time to sort of meditate, think about it, because you're concentrating on the road, but that anger's risen just spontaneously because someone dared to cut you off. So one of the antidotes to anger is the mind of love. So at that point, is it easy to generate the mind of love for that person? No. Pretty difficult. It can be done if you're well versed in that type of meditation beforehand. You've done the meditation on breathing, you've developed love for other beings, and then someone cuts you off, you might feel love for them. But first up, if you haven't done that it'll be very difficult to then go, oh, now I must feel the mind of love because that person's cut me off. So it's very difficult to do. So what can you do? If you have this mind of anger in the car, can you do anything about the anger, or do you just let it consume you? Can you do anything? Breathe. Okay, breathe. Very good. So
I'm starting to. I find equanimity is what I'm developing a lot as a
yep.
initiate, maybe interested in Buddhism. So I'll try and see the person neither as a friend or an enemy or a stranger,
Yep.
and try and remove attachment, hate, and indifference, and try and let him go and concentrate on something else.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, so that's another technique to reduce the afflicted mind, particularly of at that point viewing the person who's cut you off as the enemy. So immediately anger and hatred jumps up. So if you lose that distinction, strong distinctions about the people around you, you can immediately develop this mind of equanimity. So you're viewing all beings as equal. But is it viewing all beings with equal disdain. You could do that, couldn't you? And I've heard of people saying, yeah, I'm the same with everyone. I don't like them at all. I've heard people say that. They don't like, so they're all equal. So, but that's not the equanimity we're talking about. What's that? The guy himself, yes, yeah. Yeah, it's true. So anyway, so this equanimity, it's a warm, affectionate mind towards every being, and you've removed that distinction, as this gentleman said, friend, enemy, and viewing people strongly as friend, enemy, and stranger. So you have this natural, affection arising in you for all the beings you encounter. Because you don't have that strong, oh, that's my friend, they'll never let me down. Or that's a stranger, I couldn't care less. Or that's an enemy, I hate them. So you through meditation, you lose that, and then you develop this sort of the mind of equanimity, such equal affection for all three. And that's a good meditation in itself, but it begs the question, is that what happens in real life, though? That people are the same, like they're always the enemy, or they're always the friend, or they're always the stranger? Are things that permanent? No. So, like even through high school and primary school, I had friends, etc. And so they've come and they've gone and disappeared, and I go, well, where are they? And so are they a stranger? But I knew them, so... And it's the same with an enemy, a mortal enemy. You're thinking, well, gosh, I'll never get on with that person. But they might turn around and become your best friend. So that's a very good meditation, that one. So in fact, we might go to that one, because I think that's, if you like, highlighting how your mental approach to the situation can colour it, whether you're happy or not. So let's adopt the meditation pose. So back straight, hands on the lap, and then thumbs touching, pointing back towards the navel, and then so eyes just slightly open to let the impression of light. Your mouth closed, your lips touching your top palate. Your tongue's touching your top palate, and then focus your attention on the breath as it goes in and out through your nostrils, so the mental image of that. So just calming the mind, centering it. So then visualise in front of you your best friend. And then to your left can be an enemy, someone you don't like, never get on with. And then to your right, you can visualise a stranger, someone you don't know, have no feeling for at all. So as they're in these three positions or in front of you, then you just do a rotation So the enemy becomes the friend becomes the stranger, and the stranger becomes the enemy. So work out whether could that ever happen, that those three people could actually swap positions, or they'd become those identities in your life. And then once more do a swap. So each of the three people, they all swap roles again. So one becomes the friend, one becomes the enemy, and one becomes the stranger. And then check again, is that possible? Is it possible for that person to have actually taken on two different personas from the one that they started with? So all three beings, they all want happiness and don't want suffering. So no matter what their relationship to you, they all have that same need or desire. So holding on to a strong identity for those three people, having aversion or attachment or indifference, isn't really how these relationships work. It's not a good basis for relationships. So then bring your attention back to the room and then open your eyes when you're ready. So that type of meditation is more analytical. So you started with a breathing meditation, more focused, then you switched to an analytical meditation. So you need both types of meditation to develop an effective practice. So with that meditation on equanimity, if you're thinking that all beings want happiness and don't want suffering, including yourself, then it will come about that the strong label that you have of that person as my friend and friend for all time, it'll start to dissolve. Because you'll see that that's not necessarily in real life how things happen, that people come and go, etc. But you can still have a warmth and affection for them. And that's what we're trying to develop ourselves. Does anyone have any questions on that meditation, that practice on developing equanimity? It's just the beginning of it, but that's a very good practice to do because, as I mentioned, the school friends I had when I was growing up, they've all disappeared, all of them. I'm going, well, I've got no one from my childhood that I still know. So it's like, yeah, so. And the person who caused me great grief when I was a young kid, it's like, well, they're gone too, sort of. So they don't have that label anymore either. So, So with equanimity, they say that's the basis for developing the mind of enlightenment. So that altruistic intention. So if you can develop that equal affection for everyone you encounter, then that mind of enlightenment arises as from that. So we have to start small, because we're not looking at, even though the scope is all sentient beings, we're better off confining ourselves to the ones in our immediate orbit, the people we know, our family, friends, etc., people we encounter, and work from there. So that's very good. So does anyone have any questions? Well, I've done a lot of talking tonight, so it hasn't been as many questions from the audience. But anyway, look, so with that, there's a few topics that have been thrown out out there. So the main one, though, is if you can do something about the situation, why worry? This is for anxiety, and if you can't do anything about it, why worry? So it does mean that essentially you're using your mental faculties to put a dampener on anxiety rising by thinking like that. Oh, I can do something. I can't do everything. I can do something about the situation. So maybe I don't need to worry so much. Well, I can't do much about that. I can't do anything about that at all. Well, don't worry. So Saunders has given that advice a few times. It's very effective, very simple, but very effective. So good to follow that. And the other one is the utilisation of meditation to calm your mind, bring peace to you, and to see whether that's lasting or just transient or temporary, or whether you can make it, whether it filters out beyond the meditation to a happy, peaceful mind. And that's what your goal is, to try and obviously have a happy, peaceful mind while you're meditating, but out of that, does the level of your happiness increase or develop? So I think we'll finish there. That's very good. So because we've spent an hour and we've done some meditation, we've done some reflecting, and we've done some listening, so I'll do the dedication prayer. So you can just think about the words in this. So, may I quickly become Guru Lord Buddha and lead each and every sentient being into their enlightened realm because of these merits. May the supreme jewel bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen never diminish but increase more and more. So thank you, everyone.